I'm Becky Seda with Seda Real Estate Group at Keller Williams Green Meadow.
Hi, I'm Nikki Buckelew, founder and co-host of the Senior Living Truth Series. This is our 10th year we're going into, and my husband Chris and I started the Senior Living Truth Series really as a part of our real estate practice, because we were finding that our clients had a lot of questions and we were answering them one person at a time. Mm-hmm. And so we decided to start doing classes, and then we decided to turn those classes into a series of classes. And then that series just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And it was a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. And we actually then decided, because a lot of the questions people had were not real estate related questions, we started offering other topics like legal and financial and end of life planning and healthcare. And it evolved over time. And so to where we are today. So primarily our attendees are people that are retired. We have singles, we have marrieds, we have widows and widowers, and sometimes they bring their kids. Sometimes people come to learn about things for themselves, for their family members that are on the younger side. Maybe they're not retired, they take off work and come, but most of our folks are retired. And we have a mix from all over Oklahoma City. Some people drive from out of town. Some people drive as far as an hour away, which is great. We're always excited. People come from outlying areas. And then of course we have education partners too. So we have some professionals that attend as well. Well, this is really what's interesting, is that we, as a team, right, we get to decide what topics we deliver. And we pick and choose those topics based on the audience and the attendees, as well as what's going on in the world and what's going on in the marketplace. And so it's a range. So I mentioned earlier real estate topics, because that's our area of expertise. That's kind of our wheelhouse. And so things like how to sell your house as is, let's say, or how to downsize into a retirement community, how to deal with the stuff in your house, right? Those are basic questions that we answer as part of our seminars. But then we do estate planning. We'll have attorneys come in, we'll have financial planners come in and be on the panel. We have medical doctors that'll come in and speak on Alzheimer's and dementia. And we've had people come in and talk about end of life planning and healthcare options and home health and hospice. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I love, we did one on who to call when someone passes away. I felt like that one was really, that was a really interesting one, because it's not something that you often think about if you have a loved one who is end of life. And you know that that's happening. When that happens, what do you do? And that was, that was really, really a great topic.
So to your point, I think this is the real key, is that when you and I are out talking to people all the time, we're in their homes, they're asking us questions, and a lot of times it's a real estate conversation that evolves into something else.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that kind of question, like, well, what happens if I choose not to move into a retirement community, or I pass away at home, or my family member does? Those questions come up. And when they do, it seems like they almost come up in patterns, right? Mm-hmm. That's when we know that would be a great topic, because if you're asking that question and I'm wondering, then it's probably a topic a lot of people are wondering about.
Yeah. And I think just giving people the space to know, like, I'm not by myself. This is not a bad question or a stupid question or something like that. This is a question that needs to be answered. And a lot of times people see their real estate agent as, walking through that process, because it's so personal. They become such a resource. And good ones become problem solvers, and they become researchers. And so what we're aiming to do is really just provide resources and connect people to professionals that can answer the question when it's not something that we're qualified to do.
Well, let's see if we remember it the same way.
Okay.
So as I recall, so you work, maybe 10 miles, your office or so, not very far from us, but we never really crossed paths. Like, we knew each other, we knew each other, and we knew of each other. And you'd gone through our training at Seniors Real Estate Institute a few years back. And so I came down, I said, hey, can I meet with you? And I just want to pick your brain and see how your business is going. And I knew it was different than ours, and I wanted to get a comparison, right? I remember coming down and thinking, I'll just be there 30 minutes or so. And, I think it was an hour and a half later, we're chatting. And I'm very interested, I'm very intrigued. And I thought, okay, this is interesting. Like, this is not what I expected, right? I expected us to have kind of a business conversation, but we talked about personal and we talked about life and a few other like things. Okay, so that's what I remember. And then I'll tell you what happened when I left. So when I left there after 90 minutes, I called Chris to let him know I was on my way back because it was later than he would have expected. And I said, you know what? I really like her. And he said, what do you like about her? And I said, she's real. Like she's real. Like you didn't have any pretense. Like it wasn't like you didn't feel like I didn't feel like you thought I had an agenda. Like we just had this real human conversation, and that's rare.
Yeah.
I think that's especially in our world. I think
absolutely. No, when I heard about SREI, another real estate agent told me about it. I didn't even realize that it was run by someone in Oklahoma City. I had no idea. And so then when I found that, I was like, oh, well, that's really cool that Oklahoma City offers something like this. And I went to conference, and that's the first time that I met Nikki, but it was in passing because you were, she was schmoozing, as we like to say in real estate, but she was greeting everyone, making sure that everyone felt seen and appreciated that they were there and all of those things. And I just fell in love with the compassion and the care and honestly, the attention to detail, and the strict adherence to purpose that Nikki embodies. And so when she came to the office, I just assumed that she was checking to make sure that like I was doing what I was supposed to be doing as a certified senior housing professional, which I love.
Like an inspection.
More like I want to make sure that you but which is fine because I'm an open book, right? Like I'm like, that's please see, because I have things that I'm really proud of and I'm passionate about doing that too. So
it's funny.
Anyway, but I loved having that conversation and I felt so much like same, like this is a real person that we have common goals and we are passionate about, common things. So,
well, I hope when I left, you didn't think to yourself,
no,
I wonder if I passed the test.
No, I didn't think that. I didn't think I was being tested. I just thought, I don't know. But it was such a good conversation. And when you left, I thought, man, that was great. I enjoyed visiting. So.
Well, I think it was that day. I know it was that day. I will tell you that I thought, I don't know how we're going to work together exactly. I mean, I don't know how that would look, but it would be cool to work together. Yeah. And then when this opportunity came upon us, I was like, you know what, who could we get? And I know you didn't ask this question, but Chris and I were contemplating who could we get to join us in offering the Senior Living True Series, and knowing that after doing something for 9 or 10 years, like you kind of need different perspectives, and I feel like it needs it's almost a refresh, right? Like something to help spice things up. And we were contemplating who that person would be or who those people would be. We even contemplated somebody from like another industry. And I said, I was reflecting back on our meeting, and I said to Chris, I said, what about Becky Seda? And he said, let's get a meeting with her and her husband and see if they want to go to dinner. And that's when you and Roberto went to dinner with us, because Chris hadn't really met you. And that was it. That cinched it. It was like, okay, they get it. Like they're like us. They're education based. I feel like they're honest people. They're professional. Like you have a solid business. All those things, because it really wasn't one thing I was looking for. It was like this package. Yeah. And I thought I'll never find the right person because my standards are way up here.
And I think honestly, like one thing that we have in common is being learning based and coming to like wanting to be able to learn right alongside. And that is what I always felt with you. It's just that, wanting to learn so you can be better, so you can be better.
When we decided that we needed to spice things up at Senior Living Truth Series, and that you and your husband, and I'm gonna lump Roberto in this too, because when you're married, you kind of are a package deal, right? And Chris and I have been doing this together so long that we're like a unit, right? But when we all agreed that this was a good fit, I got real excited, because here's where I see things going. We'll see if you agree. I hope we do.
Yeah, I'm sure we do.
So I see this, it's like an expansion of what we're doing.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
It's going from being really what the book that Jim Collins wrote, Good to Great. Right. And part of that is a newness. To me, it's a new energy. It's also a different perspective. It's a little bit of a shake-up, right? Yeah. I think sometimes we get in a routine and people are used to what they're used to, and it'll be fun to interject some new energy into it. But here's what I think I'm most excited about. And this isn't going to be what people think, I might say, but we've always been about giving people choices in their decision making. Like it's never one person that you should talk to. You should do your homework, right? And I think you guys do the exact same thing. I tell
people all the time, if you're looking for someone to come in and tell you what to do, I'm probably not your person. Right. I'm the person who comes in and says, here's options. Some different options for you.
Right. And ultimately they choose for them because everybody's different. Well, so we've been doing this for so long that I feel like we've been the only real estate option, right? Like they look at us and they go, okay, you're it because we're loyal to you. And I've always felt a little bit awkward about that. I mean, I love it as a business person. It's like, sure. But I also think that we're not everybody's best choice. Like we're not right for everybody. And I feel like choices are a good thing. And so bringing in another agent who has experience and expertise and longevity, who can share their perspective too, I think gives people some comparing and contrasting to make decisions for themselves. And then that way they don't feel like they don't have choices. I really want them to have choices, and this is one way to do that. So I know that may sound weird, and if real estate agents are listening to this, they probably think I'm nuts, which is fine. A little competition is a good thing.
Yep, I agree.
And if those two people that are competitors are collaborating, I feel like that's even better for the consumer.
Yeah, I'm such a proponent of, minds like the tide rising, right? Like I just feel like it's so important to have people who keep you sharp and keep you ready. Yep. One of the things that I'm excited about this collaboration is it is such a needed and beautiful seminar series, and with an additional person, like it expands our reach. We're going to be able to help way more people because Nikki only knows who she knows, and she can only reach who she can reach. But together we can reach double the people, and those people can reach other people. Yeah. So I just feel like it's I'm excited about who we can help and provide answers for.
Who we can help them and how we help them. I think that's, and it was fun to see that you have a very different sphere of influence. Like you said, you also have a different professional sphere of influence, vendors and service providers. And again, that to me, that's all about choice. That's giving people more options. I can only vet so many people. Like you can only vet so many people. And so if we're literally doubling, if not tripling. Yeah. But I want people to be as excited about it as we are. I think I would say I want them to know that the Senior Living Truth Series is only going to get better and better, and that by incorporating some other partners and collaborators, I tell you what, here's what I really want people to know. I want them to know they have a place to come where they are going to get real answers that are not, they're not salesy or not trying, we don't have an agenda other than educating. That's our agenda. And that we care about them. Like we have families too, and we have parents and we have grandparents and aunts and uncles, and we're also planning for our own futures. And this for us, for me, it's like a laboratory. It's like Marilyn Olson at Villages OKC said something one time. She said, we are all seniors in training. If you're not a senior yet, you're a senior in training. Well, I'm over 50 now, so I kind of count myself in the 50 and over group, but I'm a senior in training. And so for me, I am teaching at the same time I'm learning. And so I want people to know that we're all in this together. Like this is not us preaching or lecturing to them or at them. This is us walking alongside them. We're on this journey together. And I think the more we all learn together and support each other, the better. I will tell you, there's another thing. There's an awful lot of conversations that are not being had, whether it be in families or between husbands and wives or adult children and their parents, or between professionals and their clients even, because people are either too ashamed to ask or too nervous to ask. They don't know what to ask, or they've tried to have those conversations and people won't engage them, which happens sometimes too. And these seminars are kind of really designed to help forward those conversations, to give people the tools they need so they can have them if they feel like they need to have them. We don't make people do any of that. But what I found is that when people look around and they realize that other people are in the same boat they're in, or that other people have been there and they've successfully navigated it and they have the tools to help them. It just makes it easier.
It's empowering, I think.
It is empowering.
And, you know, my mind goes back to the discussion that you had about online relationships. And that's not even a discussion that maybe somebody is afraid to have per se. I think it's something that society has changed such that a lot of times kids don't even know that they need to have that conversation with mom or dad, because they, you know, are in a place where they understand to be cautious about things like that. Whereas, you know, an older generation is trusting what they see online and trusting what they hear and know and all of those things. And I just think that there's so many, you're exactly right. There's so many conversations that are so important, and we have them in that room, and it's empowering to the attendees to not feel alone. So one of the things that I feel like makes it different from a lot of seminars is when you attend a seminar. I mean, we all get postcards in the mail that's like, come listen to this talk about something. And you just kind of know that you're going to go and they're going to maybe teach you something, but really what they're wanting you to do is pay for something more. And this is not that at all. And at all. And so I feel like that's something that is so different. There's not going to be a close at the end outside of, there are people here that want to answer your questions. Ask them, you know.
It was funny because we did have one education partner years back that thought they were going to do that. They thought they were going to sell. And until I escorted them to the door and gave them their money back and said, this is not going to be a good fit for you.
Not a fit.
So that was kind of the last time that happened, actually. I think maybe word got out. But no, so that is absolutely one of the best things, I think, because people don't want to be sold something. They don't want to feel like they're pressured. They just want the information and they want to go think about it and decide for themselves. The other thing is the truth, right? So when and I forgot to mention this, like this was kind of the evolution, the very beginning thing was, I'll tell a quick story why it's the Truth Series. When I went out to a seminar, we had been gone from Oklahoma. We left and been gone about 9 years. We came back and I was going to relaunch our real estate sales business. And I went out and networked with a bunch of different senior living communities and different senior service providers. And I went to a seminar that was being done by a provider in our market. And at the end of the seminar, there was this piece of paper you had to fill out. And in the very small print down at the bottom was that they were going to give I was giving them permission to give my information to I won't say who, to a big corporation. Sure. And I thought, that's not okay with me. And I asked them about it and they kind of blew me off and made it act like it wasn't a big deal, but it is a big deal. So when Chris and I were formulating this, I said, there's two things about this at the time. Now there's more, but at the time there were two. One is we're going to tell the truth. Period. We're not going to sugarcoat things. We're going to expose things that need to be exposed we're going to be transparent. The other thing is that we're not going to sell data. We're not going to collect people's information and then sell it or use it to market to people, because that's what a lot of times when you go to a help fair or something like that and people are entering raffles, all they're doing is collecting your information so they can market to you. And I don't like that for myself. I certainly wouldn't want to do that to other people. So we decided we weren't going to do those two things. And
truly, I don't think it works anyway. And that's a totally different discussion. But no one wants that. No one wants to feel like a number or a dollar bill or something like that. So that's, not even to the education partners. So we do have education partners that provide so much value to the seminar series, but they don't get a list of attendees. If someone has a question, if they approach us and say, I have a question for, an education partner by name, then we actually reach out to them after the event and say, may we give your information, or do you want that person to call you, or did you reach out to them? And it is they're not ever going to get a call from someone that they're not expecting, even if they tell us that they would like to speak with that person.
Because we want to make sure that it's legit. Like if they get that phone call, they know it's coming and they know that person is who they say they are. Well, so they're integral, I think. In the beginning, we didn't have education partners early on because we wanted to make sure it's kind of a proof of concept. We wanted to make sure this was going to actually, people would be interested in coming. And when they were, we immediately figured out that we needed to have a larger scope of expertise in the room. So So for instance, we have education partners in the legal field, the banking field, the healthcare field.
Mm-hmm.
We have people with not-for-profits. We have people that are insurance. Oh my gosh, we have ministry. So there are people in the room that when someone has a question to the panel or to us as a moderator that we can't answer, it's outside our scope, we just call in one of our education partners and then they can answer that question.
Mm-hmm.
That's one really great thing, because sometimes the questions are legal questions.
Yeah. Yeah. And we are not attorneys.
And we're not attorneys.
We are not medical professionals.
Right.
I mean, I feel like it would be doing a disservice if we tried to step in and give I would never want to be responsible for giving someone information that maybe it's true for me. Yeah. Maybe it's something that it was absolutely true in my situation. Yep. But the minute that they take that as, there's so much trust there. And the minute that they take that as,
as truth for them,
then things can go sideways. And we care about people too much for that.
If it wasn't for the education partners, I don't know that we could offer it for free, because they do pay to be an education partner. And so that's what offsets the cost of our marketing and the things that the venue, the things that we do to help support the program. Now, I'll tell you something, though, that's interesting about the fee that education partners pay. We've had multiple organizations offer large sums of money to be education partners that we have declined. And the reason we've declined them is because they either want to market to people, they want to buy the list, they want to sell, they want to...
we do not compromise on that value set alignment.
Right. For no amount of money.
Correct, When you see someone and you know someone and you have relationship with a group of people as loyal as this group of people, a lot of the subject matter becomes apparent as a need.
Sure. Yeah, for sure. And then to choose the people who are going to sit up there and deliver that is almost the same way in a way. Like, we come across so many professionals out there as we're doing business every single day that I'll give you an example. We had a great panel this year, early in the year, and it was on healthcare, like supplements and what people don't know that's happening in the healthcare world, because they can go to a lot of health classes, but this was going to be different, and it was really different. So we had one of our doctors, Dr. Virtus Smith, who's a retired neurologist at Mercy, and Dr. Imes, who's still in practice, as well as a PhD from UCO, Dr. Melissa Powers. And the way we got those is, well, Dr. Imes is my sleep doctor, and Dr. Smith was referred to me by someone that he had great rapport with that comes to our seminars, and that's how I met him the first time. He's spoken several times at our event. And then the Dr. Powers came through one of our attendees, who's a retired, we have several retired UCO professors from UCO. They introduced us to Dr. Powers. So we vet them. So we vet them to see if they're the right fit for this topic. And it was funny because when we met with Dr. Powers for another meeting, I don't know if you remember, she said, she said, I had to be interviewed for that panel. Yeah. And she was a little caught off guard, because you would think that, PhD after her name would give her the credentials for the position, but it really doesn't always.
Not always. Yeah, not always. And our attendees are so, they expect expertise and honesty, but they are, I mean, we've got a lot of retired educators that are in, so you can't pull one over on them. You got to have somebody that can answer.
That's what they like, I think, too. They tell us, this is the feedback we get, is they appreciate that our panelists and our moderators, when I'm moderating or anybody that's moderating, that we don't dumb it down, that this is very high level. This is very, we cite our sources. This isn't fluff. And you're not going to read most of what we talk about in AARP magazine. It's just not. It's a little higher level than that. Yeah,
tactical even, I think.
For sure. There's a saying in sales over life in sales, 30 some odd years, that logic makes people think and emotion makes people act. And sometimes we need more than just information to help us make a decision and then to take action on it. And so when we have people like this month, we had caregivers that were there, and 3 different people with 3 very different caregiving stories. And we had done our prep. You and I sat with them and asked them the questions. But I will tell you that you never really know until they're on stage the depth of what they're going to say. And at the end of that seminar, I had more people come up afterward and say, this was the best one yet.
It was powerful. It was a powerful conversation to be had. And the report, when we were doing the prep, was good. You know, it was a good conversation. But there was something that happened. I think it allowed, you know, so many of us have such a great story to share. And when they were given that platform to do that, I truly believe that lives were changed in that room.
100%.
I think futures were changed. Things were, you know, the fact that someone said that because their mom made the decision to stop driving, that was a gift because her adult children didn't have to make that decision, take it away. And I overheard people say afterwards, like, that they wanted to be a gift. I mean, just that one sentence, that changed the family dynamics for people. I think people will be a gift because she said that. So.
And when Jeff spoke about his dad at the very end of life and his testament to the fact that he believed that he was going to heaven, and Jeff was, you know, unfortunately didn't know until that moment. There wasn't a dry eye in the room. And I think that speaks to the realness of this. We aren't just up there to lecture to people and tell them things. This is really about helping people make their own decisions based on what they're hearing. And when we've had another panel that you may not have seen is we've had people who have downsized. They've moved from their home into a retirement community. And we have two different types of panels for that. We have retirement community salespeople who sit up there and they'll talk about what their community offers and how wonderful it is and what the pricing is and all that kind of stuff, which is very good. But then we have people come up who live there and they talk about living there. And that's a very different experience than hearing one of us tell about something.
Different takeaway for sure.
Totally. And so it gives them both perspectives. And we try to do that on as many different topics as we can. The lives that are changed, the action. I'm an educator at heart. I don't know how I got into sales in my life, but I guess I sell too. I mean, you know, you have to sell an idea, and inspiration is somewhat selling, I guess, right? You're selling people and doing something, but I'm an educator at heart. And so when Danielle laughs at me because we have a feedback form that we ask people to do, right? And they do it. Yeah. About 90% of the people fill out the feedback form. So they do the feedback form, we get those feedback forms, and then we go, everybody leaves, and we go to lunch. And we talk about what did we do well, what did we not do well, what could we do better. And Danielle laughs, Nikki, do you want the evals? And we're sitting at Charleston's, and Nikki's looking at the evals, right? And what I'm looking at in the feedback is what action steps are people going to take? What did they say they took away from it? And that's my favorite thing is when people say, this made a difference. I'm going to go talk to my kids about this, or I'm going to go meet with my attorney to make sure my estate plan is in place, or whatever it is. I'm going to clean out a closet, right? I don't care. As long as they're taking action, I'm pretty happy. What about you?
To me, I feel like I love the impact that it makes. And so I guess similarly, but having the opportunity to watch people in their 70s and 80s and 90s continuing to learn more about themselves. And I think that society puts a finish line on people, and that's not real. It's not true. Some of the most interesting people, some of the most impactful life changes that people walk through happen in you know, 70s and 80s and 90s. And you know, Nikki and I were kind of talking about this the other day, but the memories that we have of like our grandparents, that's who we know them as, right? That's who they are as people. But when you really dig in and talk and grow in relationship with some of our attendees, that's not really how they see themselves. They have so much further left to go, and it's such a reminder. And it's to me, it's just a really beautiful process to watch, and it gives me a lot. It's encouraging to me, so I think I have some selfish enjoyment there too. I don't know if that makes
us better people too.
Absolutely, absolutely.
It's a ministry too. I think I honestly say there's a ministry to this that I had a gentleman who said to me, Nikki, he said, you don't realize. He said, you are a minister of a different kind. That's what he said. You're a minister of a different kind. And I thought, well, isn't that a beautiful thing to say?
Yeah.
So we don't have to be behind the pulpit to minister. So here's what's different next year. First of all, we're in a new venue. I think that's going to be fun.
Yep.
We're Francis Tuttle Votech. It's an education campus. That's what it's designed for. And parking's going to be great. And it's a wonderful campus. We can't wait. And by the way, they have a lunchroom right now.
I was going to say the same thing. I was going to say, and also there's food there.
Yes, I was just thinking, let's leave the seminar, we'll just walk down the hall, have lunch, and it's like all built in right there, right?
Yeah, I love it.
And so, but that's just one little thing. And the other thing that's going to be different is this year the topics are going to be a little more fine-tuned toward housing. So real estate, your home, relocation, senior living, the things you need to do prepare. Not that you're going to do it tomorrow, but maybe that they're going to do it, in the future.
Yeah.
Planning ahead. That's all about planning ahead because too many people don't have a plan and it creeps up on them.
Well, a lot of people plan to age in place, which is great. I mean, I talk to a lot of people who they want to live out their life in their home. And I think that's fantastic. There are resources to help you do that. It's also really important to have a plan B in case something happens that's outside of your control. Yeah. And just knowing what resources are out there instead of having to make a really fast decision if you have that lined out. And that's our goal, is to make sure that you know what's out there, you know that there's options, you know you have someone to call. Yeah. It's important to us.
I think there's going to be a new buzz this year. I really do. It's going to be fun. It'll be interesting. A new venue always helps.
Yep.
New partnerships help. We have some new education partners coming on board that we'll announce later. And we have some of the returning ones as well. But to me, every year in January, that's kind of like a reset. There's just a new energy around the people in the room. And so that's going to be a lot of fun. I always look forward to January. Oklahoma this past year created a new initiative called Aging Your Way. And they have 10 areas that they are focusing on that were based on what they learned from people around the state and a whole bunch of focus groups that they did for, a year or so. And housing is one of them, transportation is one of them, education, healthcare. There are a lot of different ones. But what I hope to do is be able to tie in what the state is trying to implement, because they're putting together the public sector, the private sector, and the not-for-profit sector. And we qualify for the public sector, right? And they've always left us out, right? State stuff is almost always like not-for-profit and the public sector. And this time they went, you know what? We need the private sector to get involved. So we are.
Yep.
And I don't know what that's going to look like yet, but I think anything we can do to work together with other groups throughout the state, I think it can't go wrong.
I'm just excited that the state saw a need. And that is another thing. If you've known me for 5 minutes, you know that I love Oklahoma and I love Oklahomans and who we are as people. And I'm just really excited that the state saw this need and they poured funds into it. They took time to talk to lots of people about what the needs are. And I'm really excited about it.
Yeah. I am excited about this, and you need to know that I have been the moderator now for 10 years. Shannon has co-moderated some, right? One of our partners.
Yep.
And I had Julie Davis, one of our education partners, has co-moderated from time to time. It's rare. And you're going to be co-moderating a lot.
I'm excited. I'm excited about it. It's going to be good. I will tell you that when I've been visiting, and one of the people came up, one of the attendees, a loyal attendee came up to me, and he said, I think I need to know who you are. And I said, okay, I'm an open book. What question? He said, well, Nikki tells the truth. Do you tell the truth? And I said, I do tell the truth. I do. So I think coming from that standpoint, So I love that, and hold me to it, because I'm coachable and I love people. And I love this seminar.
And you're a great educator.
I do love to come with a learning mindset. So I'm excited about it.
It was funny because I kind of floated that with a couple of attendees and told them that we were looking at partnering. And the first question they asked me was, well, does she tell the truth? And I said, well, yeah, I wouldn't have picked her if I didn't think she would. And I said, but you should ask her. And he did.
I love it.
It was great.
I love it so much.
Well, I'll tell you, what we teach our agents that across the country, and you know this, and you already believed this before you met me, is that this is all about first, it's educating first, advocating second, and being an agent third. And you can be all of those things, but people often don't need a real estate agent they need an educator first, and then they also need somebody to advocate for them. Not always, but sometimes. And then they need an agent. And I feel like, to me, that's the order in which I serve. And, you know, that to me is about being human.
Yeah.
And then if I get an opportunity to serve some people and make an income from that, then that's bonus. That's a bonus day.
Yeah. I think that's for us in our office. What we talk about a lot is we see people. We see people, and we say that all the time. And when there's a difficult decision to be made, it all comes back to that. We see people first. And so that's what I want. That is what I want people to know about my passion, is that I want you to know that I see you and I care about you and I want you to succeed. Whatever that looks like to you, I want to provide you with the tools that you need to make great decisions and succeed. Yeah.
And if ultimately that involves us in some way, shape, or form, great. And if not, that's okay too. But we would love to invite you. I think we would love for you to come check us out if you haven't. If you've been coming, keep coming. If you haven't been before, please do. And if you'd like to learn more, you can go to seniorlivingtruthseries.com. And that's got our full schedule. It has the phone number you can call to register, as well as you can register online if you like.